Okay, my name is Daniel Mangum, and this is my Let's Play video for Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. What I'm going to do is give kind of an overview of the game, and then I'm going to play a little bit for you. So, this is one of my many characters. It is my wizard. I also have some other characters, but we're going to stick on the wizard. So in this game, the objective is to go around and kill monsters as fast as you can, and then loot drops. And when loot drops, it can be different colors. It can be white, blue, yellow, a kind of brownish color, or green. And the brown and green are kind of your best items, and you're looking for stat upgrades to make you better. So I'm going to go ahead and start a game in adventure mode. And adventure mode is kind of a mode where you can freely go around and kind of do whatever you want to do. There's no specific storyline that you need to follow. You have the whole map open to you. You can go across acts. So you can pretty much do whatever you want. So what I'm going to do is start out by killing Diablo himself. So one of the interesting things about Diablo is the fact that Blizzard Entertainment, who is the maker of this game, has been trying to put the game onto different platforms, and right now it is on the PlayStation 3 and on the computer. And the big problem with that is that the program and development teams are different teams, so the content gets put out at different speeds. So if you're playing on the PlayStation, you might get content that the computer users wanted, or vice versa, which kind of doesn't really make sense because we're all playing the same game. You'd think we'd all kind of get the same content updates. So here I am in the Silver Spire. I kind of shortcut it, and now the point of this game is you run around, kill monsters, and I'm trying to find different levels. Every time you play, the maps are randomly generated, so what you're looking for isn't going to be in the same spot. So this is pretty much the whole purpose of the game. You have hordes and hordes of monsters that come at you, and you try to kill them. Loot drops, see this yellow stuff here, those are items that you can pick up. I'm going to kind of just leave them on the ground because I don't care. So one of the big problems that Diablo 3 had when it was initially launched is there was an auction house system. And the auction house system was used by Diablo 3 to make a lot of their money, because this game was initially a $60 purchase, but then I don't pay a monthly subscription. So Blizzard was trying to figure out ways to continue to make money. So they made an auction house that you could sell the in-game items for real money to other players, and then Blizzard would take a cut out of that. Ooh, here's Diablo. So this obviously caused a big uproar, because then that turns into a pay-to-win kind of game, and that means that someone who has enough money can just pay to buy items that are going to make them very strong and powerful, which isn't a business model a lot of people like, or a lot of players like, because then that means someone who hasn't invested any time in the game gets awesome items, so other gamers feel like they didn't earn their items. So Blizzard had the auction house in Diablo 3 up until about 4 months ago. So for the first year and a half of the game release, they had the auction house running, and then there was enough player uproar that they decided to get rid of it. So I'm on the final stage of the Diablo fight here. It's pretty easy because I have the settings turned down. Thought it would be cool to show you a cool fight like this though. Meanwhile, my dog is in everything. So here's Diablo. He's going down. He goes down in an amazing fashion. And then you beat his corpse, which is a little weird, but... And then he shoots out loot, and you hope there's some shiny beams, but we didn't get anything. So now I'm going to go back to base. So back to the auction house. So a big problem with the auction house is it led to people botting. And what botting is people set up programs to automatically send their characters into just mobs to farm them. And so they're not actually playing the game. It's a computer program that plays the game, and then the computer program collects the items, and then the person checks in on it every now and then and goes and sells the items. So essentially it's a business model. So a lot of people get up in arms about that because in a lot of games you'll see gold spammers in all of the chat menus. So it completely takes away from the social interaction part of the game because you're busy trying to filter through all of the spam for you to buy 10 million gold for 15 cents. So the removal of the auction house has pretty much eliminated that. Usually you'd see my chat window down in this corner blown up with gold spammers, but they are unable to sell anything anymore, so they're not here anymore. So it might look like I'm kind of just randomly going around and killing stuff, but I do have a purpose. There's a magical rainbow land that is up around here that I thought would be fun to show. So it's a cow level. And this was Blizzard, the creator of the game's kind of take on Diablo 2, where they had a cow level. And there was also a lot of flack when Diablo 3 was released that it was fluffy and that the game wasn't as dark as Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, and they thought they'd kind of like video gamed it up. So Diablo 3 took it into their hands to kind of mock those accusations, and they made this zone here as bright and colorful as possible, and you kill flowers and ponies. And I think there's some teddy bears around here, and you have happy clouds, which is kind of like a chest, and they shoot out loot, and the music is very kind of cheesy. And I think this says rest in peace, Care Bears. So Blizzard was taking a nice little jab at people kind of making fun of their game for being too light and fluffy. So they had this level made. I thought it was a pretty funny level because you kill teddy bears and their body parts fly through the air and their heads fall off, and you kill ponies and they get cut in half like that. So that's always fun. So one of the big problems that Diablo 3 has is that a lot of people don't like the game because it is very repetitive, and in terms of some people's definition of a game, it wouldn't be considered a game because essentially you're trying to kill things so that they drop you loot, so that the loot they give you is stronger, so that you can kill mobs faster to do the same thing. So it's a very repetitive game. You use a lot of the same spells over and over again, and you're just waiting for certain items to drop. And the item system, it's not like you can go and hunt a specific boss or a specific mob for an item to drop. All the items in this game are completely random, so any mob in the game can drop any item. And obviously some of the items are a little rarer, so they're a lot harder to find, really, really low. So here we have a legendary item, and it has this big beam come out, and there's a star on my mini-map here in the corner. So that's what you're searching for. You're searching for items like that. So then you open up your menu after you kill the flowers that are attacking you. And it's got a big question mark over it. Unfortunately, I can't identify it with this stuff attacking me. And you identify it. Takes a moment here. And you can look at all the cool things it does. It adds your damage, your intellect, your critical hit, various different stats. It's not nearly as good as what I have, but you can compare it. And if it's an upgrade, you can put it on, and it changes the look of your item. So the whole point of the game is to find different items like that that make you stronger. So what I'm going to do now is go and show, so once I kill all these teddy bears and get them off me, show a different boss from a different act so we can see different parts of the game. So one of the big questions, going back to the gold farming thing, is this game considered a game to the people who use it to just make money? There's some people who use games like Diablo 3, and it's particularly a lot of MMOs, to just farm the items and sell the gold and make money off of it. So I can't imagine it's an enjoyable process, because it usually means that there's a lot of farming going on and you're not really doing much, but you are playing the game. But sometimes you have computer programs that are doing it, so you're not even there while you're playing the game. So I just kind of tore through this guy real quick, but he's a boss in the game. Right. Kill him. Dramatic explosion. And we go back to base. So you can go around and you can kill all the different bosses in different areas, and that kind of adds a different element to the game because they all do different cool things. So let's see if we can go here and maybe fight a different boss. So if it seems like I'm kind of tearing through content, it's I have put a lot of hours into this game, and I have farmed up a lot of items to make me very strong. And usually when you think of a new release game coming out that's, you know, the 50 to 60 price, you can usually expect to get a good 40 or 50 hours out of the game. That's kind of what's expected. And a game like this, and why Diablo 2 was around for so long, it was around for like 10 years, and I played it for many of those 10 years, is the replayability. So you're working very hard to level up this character and to get all of his items as strong as they can be. And then there's a bunch of different classes, and there's different ways you can play the hero. So if you open up your skill menu, well, let me do it if I'm in combat apparently. There's all of these different abilities that you can change, and they make you do different things. So I can shoot lightning, or I can have blades on my hand. But I have a certain build that I like to do. So every now and then you're going to see meteors fall from the sky like that lightning bolt. So that's an effect from one of my items that took me a very long time to farm up. So meteors fall from the sky whenever I do damage with certain elemental types. I'm not sure in this if you can type blade. You know you can't. But just for a rough estimate on hours I've put into the game, on this character alone, I believe I'm sitting at about 200 hours invested into him. And I have a couple of other characters that I've probably put either 100 to 150 hours in. So that, you know, I'm probably close to 400 hours overall on my different characters. So that's a lot of time invested into this game, and it's a game where I still think that there's a lot of room for improvement, and a lot of people who play the game think that there's a lot of room for improvement. So it's kind of like this bitter relationship where I'm like, I want to love your game and I continue to play it even though I think you can do so much better. And a lot of that's built up because of the customer relationship I have with Blizzard. I played World of Warcraft for a long time, so I've learned to love a lot of their games. I played StarCraft, so I expected Diablo 3 to be just as good, if not way better than Diablo 2. and it ended up kind of being a flop. But then there's that inkling in the back of my head that they're gonna fix everything. So, all right, so now I am about to take on the Siegebreaker Assault Beast. This is another just kind of one of the mini bosses that you fight throughout the campaign mode, and since I'm not in the campaign mode, I can just kind of run up to him and start fighting him. He does some cool things like grab me and spit on my face and throw me down. But different elements to different fights make you do different things. Again, I have it on a pretty easy mode, so I can tear through him pretty quick. The harder the mode, the higher the chance is that he'll drop some good stuff for me. It's also a lot harder. Oh, the beast is down. Heading back to base. So one of the things that I don't like about Diablo 3 and why I sounded so bitter was that I think Diablo 3 has pretty much just been in it for the money, and they're not really listening to their fan base. There's a lot of passionate people that play this game, and they're all over the forums, just like any, pretty popular video game, especially with a popular video game company. And it begs the question, what happens to a company when they're bought out by a bigger company? So Blizzard Entertainment used to be an independent company that had different employees at it, and then they were bought out by Activision. And with the installation of Activision, that's when the auction house fiasco arose, and that's when a bunch of other changes that nobody really liked happened. And it's a completely different team. None of them had worked on Diablo 2. A lot of them might have played it, but they'd never worked on it. So it became this very delicate process with the auction house and with dealing with a lot of player emotion in a game that a lot of people care a lot about. So right now I'm just kind of in a random zone. It's one of my favorite zones because there's a lot of mobs. It's got great mob density, and I'm a wizard, so I do big spells. I do AoE. Makes it easy to mow through a lot of stuff really quick. As far as the social interaction in this game, there's not really a whole lot. In Diablo 2, you could have up to 8 people in a game. They shrunk that down to 4 people in a game in Diablo 3. I don't really like it because it doesn't encourage playing with other people. Another downside to the interaction is if you have another person in your game, then the mobs get stronger, and they don't get like 100% stronger, so that means if someone's playing with you and they're equally as good as you, then it's a benefit for you guys. But if someone comes in and they suck and they're just trying to mooch off of you, then it just gets harder for you because mobs have more HP, take longer to kill, you kill slower, and then your drop rates aren't happening at the rate you want to. But the game has something called clans, and it has something called communities, and the communities are designed for, if you want to do something like this, is called Rift It Forward. That's a great clan name, by the way. Lovely. You got a friends list, and right now I have a friend that's on, and Battle.net's connected to all of Blizzard's games. So they have a different game called Hearthstone, they have World of Warcraft, they have StarCraft. So if any person is on any of those games that are on your friends list, you can see what game they're playing, and you can message them across games, which is a pretty cool social thing. Big problem though is you have to kind of like have established friends who are playing, and then you pretty much just talk with them. Other than that, most people play this game solo. There's an option to join public games, but usually if you join public games, you'll get people who are on bots, or you'll get people who just talk shit to you. I mean, it's kind of the normal gaming environment, which is pretty lame. So I tend to just play solo or play with my friends, and when they're not on, I go play some other games. So this is Diablo 3. This is my Let's Play, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed my rainbow sword because I think it's cool and I worked really hard for it.